It's time once again for the DoDCast. Today, Ricky Keeler chats with the play-by-play voice of the Auburn Doubledays, Evan Stockton.
So let's get this started. My first question for you would be your first 3 quarters of the season. Before we get into some specific players, what's been your biggest takeaway from the Doubleday season?
My biggest takeaway from the Doubleday season has been, although the fact that they're 13 games under 500, they by no means are a bad baseball team. I actually think they're pretty darn good. There are flashes of pitching. There are flashes of hitting. Beghetto's been great this year. I think he's been their best all-around player. Great hitter, good field. He's still kind of grown into himself in the field, but his hitting is very solid, good contact hitter. They're not, but you look at their record and you go, oh, they must think. No, that's not the case at all. They just have a tough time closing these games, whatever it may be. Let's see, the other day they lost by 9 runs, but 51 games now, 21 of them decided by 1 run. And then 39 of them decided by 3 runs or less. So they're playing all these close games. It's just they cannot seem one way or another to be able to close the deal. So that's my main takeaway. Is although the fact the record may not be there, they're still playing, for the most part, pretty good baseball.
They had a lot of extra inning games, especially early in the season.
Yes, quite a few. You haven't lived until you've broadcast a 15-inning baseball game by yourself.
Didn't you have a game? I'm trying to remember the date. It was early in the season.
Yeah,
you were playing Batavia, and it was like 16-9.
The first home game was 19-18 in 11 innings. It was quite the game.
So let me talk about the hitter on Auburn that has been red hot in the month of August, Brandon Beghetto. He's got a hit in every game this month. I believe he's one of the Auburn players in Troy for tonight's All-Star game as we record this, hitting .313. Mm-hmm. What do you like about the way he's performed as a 25th round pick back in 2016?
Oh, he's great. He really hits the ball well to contact. He puts the ball in play. He's not much of a power guy. He's had a couple home runs this year, but I have been impressed. He has steadily made improvements throughout the year. He's pointed to making some adjustments throughout the year. I've been very impressed with Brandon on and off the field. He is in Troy tonight. Jake Scudder, out of Kansas State, and Max Engelbrecht, who was a late-round pick out of Oregon State, but the Beavers pitching staff this year was great, and he has been very, very good for the Doubledays. Beghetto's been great, very good contact hitter, and it's funny, right now he's riding a 10-game hitting streak. At one point this season, he was on an 11-game hitting streak, and he would extend it with a single or a double in like the 8th inning or the 9th inning or late in the game, and now he's getting it out of the way early. He'll get the hit in the 3rd inning or the 4th inning, and I asked him the other day, I go, Brandon, you're extending these hitting streaks earlier now in the game. Are you trying to do that? And he, gave me a politically correct answer. No, I'm just trying to get hits. But the smile on his face told me, yeah, I'm trying to, get it out of the way early in the game. So
the big storyline from June's draft was the Nationals were taking all these pitchers, and most of them are in Auburn right now. Mm-hmm. Overall, what have you liked about the pitching staff, and how have you noticed the coaching staff has handled all of these young pitchers basically all together?
Well, of course, they're treating them, very carefully. Right now we have the top 3 picks. Romero's gone a couple times, Crow's gone a couple times, and Nick Rickey's been with us a good chunk of the season. Nick Rickey's been very good. His ERA, I think in his last start he gave up 3 or 4 runs, so it's back above 2, but he's been really good, and the adjustment he's made throughout the year is he came in with all this strikeout stuff. He racked up the strikeouts at William and Mary. Good fastball, and he'll put you away with a breaking piece late in the count. But what he's done throughout the year is he's adjusted. He's working more toward ground balls now. So in his most recent starts, not racking up the strikeouts like he would in college at the beginning of the year, and it's worked for him. He's pitched really well. Crow has been stop and start. You can still tell that he's kind of worked. Remember, he had Tommy John a couple of years ago, so he's working himself back here. He's got really good stuff. He's got 4 pitches, and he's a big guy, too. He's 6'2", 245. He looks like a middle linebacker in football. And Romero blew all our doors off in his first start. That was the 8th at Falcon Park. He went 3 innings, 3 scoreless, 3 hitless with 5 strikeouts, almost had 6 strikeouts, a very close ball 4 call. The other night in Lowell, he got roughed up, and what happened to him there was he was not locating his fastball early in the count. And when he's working, he locates the fastball early and then uses his major league ready slider already to finish people off. Couldn't locate early. That led him to throw fastballs later in counts. And even in the NY-Penn league, even if you cut a 95, 96 mile an hour fastball like Romero does, guys are going to turn around on that. So there were some hard hit balls off of him. But I've been impressed, and these coaching staff obviously is treating them carefully. It's the 3 innings rule, or 55 pitches or 30 or so pitches in an inning. So they're being careful, but the Nationals really invested in the pitching, and it's helped the Auburn Doubledays this year for sure.
They've also had a couple of promotions even from some of these players in the draft class. Brigham Hill is up at Hagerstown. Ben Bramer, who is one of their Auburn's best strikeout guys, is with the Suns, and Matt DeRozier, who is not a draft pick, but fared very well. And I think that's a good sign when you have. It seems unusual that you have a lot of Penn League pitchers get promoted to the full season ball as quickly as those three have.
Oh, yeah, Bramer was great this year for the Auburn Doubledays. You could tell after a couple starts, okay, Ben's probably going up here soon. It was a cool story. His college teammate and roommate at Auburn University down in Alabama, Gabe Klobuchar, they were playing together for a couple weeks there with the Doubledays in Auburn, which was really cool. And then, Brigham got called up very quickly. Brigham was really pitching well. He's a fifth-round guy, so he's highly thought of, and he came to the Doubledays earlier than Crow did and Seth Romero did. And DeRozier's been a really cool story to watch because he struggled this year at Hagerstown, came down to Auburn. He was the most consistent pitcher. He was routinely going 6 and 7 innings scoreless, and he's gone up to Hagerstown, and he's been really darn good again. So that's cool to see a guy come down, kind of work some stuff out, and go back up and succeed.
When you look at the Doubledays pitching as a whole, is there any concern, maybe concern is the wrong word, but their second fewest strikeouts in the league, and you mentioned a lot of them have worked on ground balls, but if a fan looks at that, should there be any concern that the strikeout number as a team is that low?
No, I don't think so. I think in the NY-Penn League, as much as anything, I don't think you're trying to totally – I think you're working on some stuff. I think you just got off your college season, and I think Tim Redding, the pitching coach, and the whole staff, you're having them work on stuff. So when they go to full season at the A-ball, maybe later, this year we're running out of time here, I guess, in the summer. But even next year, they can, really implement that stuff. So I don't think they should be discouraged at all by the strikeout numbers or anything like that. I think, short season A-ball it's still a developmental league, and you're still working on stuff, and you're adjusting to a new major league franchise, which wants you to work on certain things. So I don't think the strikeout number should be anything fans look at as a cause for alarm or anything like that.
I'm looking at some of the position players, and a name that stands out to me is one of the catchers, Chance Shepard, who batting average is up 60 points. He's got more from last year in the GCL. Home runs are up from the GCL. But you see him also from a fielding perspective. How has he looked both at the plate and catching some of these younger pitchers?
So he's actually shifted to first this year.
Okay.
He is not caught for Auburn. Janer Baez has been the main catcher, and then Nick Perkins will sub in for him. Baez has been a really good defensive catcher. He's getting 2 errors in 27 games. Really good numbers for Janer. Shepard's been a first baseman this year. He has really turned around his season, I'd say, in the last 2 or 3 weeks. He has really found a groove at the plate. His average is climbing up. I don't think Chance is ever going to be a big average guy, but when he hits the ball, he crushes it. He's up to 5 or 6 home runs now this season. He had one over the weekend in Lowell, if my memory is correct, or maybe it was a double off the top of the wall. Almost hit one in Lowell. He has really made some adjustments at the plate, and it's been cool to see. He's also cut the strikeout numbers down, and that has been a problem for Chance this year is the strikeouts. But Chance has really cut those down, and he's become a very, very good hitter, especially on fastballs. If you give Chance a fastball anywhere in the zone, he'll make you pay for it.
We talk about the Doubledays and, of course, their manager being Jared Head. I hope I got the first name right, with pronunciation right. What do you like about his managing style?
I like that he, for lack of a better way to say it, he gets it. He knows these guys are coming from college seasons or extended time down in Florida before the season starts. He was a former player himself. He spent many years in the Cleveland Indians organization, among others. So he's a player's coach. He's very laid back. He lets them adjust to pro ball. He lets them kind of figure out how they're going to handle themselves. you do see at this level there are some managers who are kind of overbearing and guys who are still kind of treating them like college kids. Jared doesn't treat them like that. He lets them do their own thing. He lets them figure it out, and I think in the long run that's good because when you get up to the Washington Nationals, in theory, a lot of these guys are going to play for the National someday. They're not going to treat you with kid gloves. You're going to be up there 25, 26, 27 years old, and you're going to have to figure it out yourself. So I think that's what Jared does best is he's a player's coach. Again, for lack of a better way to say it, he gets it, and he's not going to, he's not going to treat them like they're still playing at, Texas or UCLA or any of these schools. He's going to treat them like they're playing in pro ball.
What has been your favorite part about calling games in the NY-Penn League?
Well, my favorite part has been I actually got to work in the Cape Cod Baseball League last summer. I work for the Chatham Anglers, and It's been cool to see a lot of the guys, not only on Auburn. The guy who won the Cape League Home Run Derby last year, Cameron Estes, been here. And speaking of guys who have been impressive, he's been really, really good the last few weeks. Cameron could have very easily been named an All-Star along with Gabe Klobuchar. They both put up really good numbers. It's been cool to see those guys make their transition from college ball to pro ball, and it's been cool to see also an influx of international talent making this whole melting pot. It's cool to see guys kind of go from the bright lights of college ball and all these, palaces of college ball to Auburn, New York, and Batavia, and Williamsport, and all these cool little locales that, they're all here for a little bit, and, you hope to save your scorecard in 3 or 4 years and say, oh, that guy who just did a home run for the Nationals, I called him 3 years ago playing for Auburn. So that's been the coolest thing to me is to see guys I've seen before and see a really cool collection of talent in right when they're starting, right in their pro infancy.
You mentioned Este could have been a Penn League All-Star, and you mentioned it earlier. I mean, you look at Auburn's record, you might think, well, there's not many great players, but they had 3 All-Stars, and a team like Staten Island, who went 33-19, just had 1 All-Star get in pretty late in the process. So it has to say a lot, because you don't see in a lot of leagues where a team is 19-32 but gets 3 people in the All-Star game.
Yeah. Scudder started off hot. He's been slumping as of late, but Jake really got off this hot start. And then Engelbrecht, he's kind of like the Auburn Doubledays in general. You look at his numbers in terms of where he was drafted, 40th round. You don't think he's not going to excel when he gets here or anything like that. But his numbers in college were awesome at Oregon State, part of a really good pitching staff for the Beavers, and he's been really good with Auburn. He's not a power guy. He's never going to blow you away with his fastball. He locates some more. He's kind of like Greg Maddux in that realm. So he's impressed me. Gabe Klobuchar has been very good. 35th or 36th round pick out of Auburn down in Alabama. Really good. Big guy, 6'7", 237. He's listed 270, but he's actually lost a bunch of weight since his college playing. He lost that weight during his days at Auburn. It's continued here to Auburn in New York. He's been really, really impressive. And then, Cameron Estes has really turned it on as of late. He's reached in 14 straight or 15 straight, something like that. Lefty bat, his one problem is he strikes out. He's one of the strikeout leaders on the team, but when he connects with one, he really hits it far. And he's a steady fielding presence in right field as well. If my memory serves right, he hasn't made an error this year. So Cameron has really impressed me as well. He's really improved as the season's gone along.
One of the relievers that has intrigued me following the Doubledays and their games is Jake Barnett, who's now in Hagerstown. But this is a pitcher that at one point had only given up like 1 run between Gulf Coast last year and in the early stages of Auburn this year. Now he's at Hagerstown making the jump up. And this is just a 20th round lefty out of Lewis Clark State. What did you like about him when he was with Auburn?
Again, he just locates. Really good pitcher. Cliche. He knows how to pitch. He locates. He would set up with his fastball. He got tagged with earned runs his last 2 appearances, but you were right. His first 10 or 11 appearances, he didn't give up an earned run. He was lights out of the bullpen. He's coming out of Lewis Clark State, one of these little schools in Idaho that he loved playing for. He said, this was, it was the game in town. It was more important than the football team, the basketball, anything. Baseball was the thing, so he loved playing there. And then he came to the national system, and he was looking really well. Again, like Engelbrecht, the lefty who's not going to overpower you, but the fastball and the breaking ball will, set you up and finish you off. And he was just very, very consistent, which in a developmental league like this, sometimes one guy comes out and he looks like the next Roger Clemens, and the next night he's someone totally different.
You just had Carter Keyboom on rehab assignment with you guys throughout the last week. He's now back at Hagerstown, and we talked with Hagerstown earlier in the year, and they talked about how great he's been. You only saw him for 7 games, but what stood out to you about him as he now is back healthy for the Nationals organization?
There's just so much potential in that. You can see his swing. He's not going to be a power guy, but he will be a doubles guy. Fielding solid. I think he struck out once in the 7 games with us. He doesn't strike out. He puts the ball in play. There's a lot of potential there. Sometimes you wonder, and I think he batted 280-something with us, which is solid. But, you get the former first rounder, you're like, oh, he's going to come up here and hit 600 and hit 6 home runs. You got to remember he's 19. You got to remember there's still a lot of growing for him to do. So I just saw a lot of potential in that bat, and you saw flashes. I think he had RBIs the last couple games with the Doubledays. So there was a lot of potential in that bat, and I'm excited to see him progress through the national system because there's a very good shot he's going to be up there in a couple of years, hopefully playing with his brother, Spencer.
2-part question for you. When you were watching baseball before you got into the business, what were your favorite teams to watch, and what do you make of what the Nationals are doing at the big league level right now?
Well, I grew up in Milford, Michigan, which is 30 minutes outside Detroit. I grew up a big Detroit Tigers fan. I still obviously follow the team from afar. My whole family's back home. I grew up a Tiger fan. I grew up listening to Ernie Harwell, which was a pretty decent role model to have. Ernie Harwell for the first few years of my life, and then Dan Dickerson on the radio side, and then Mario and Pemba on the TV side, both very nice gentlemen and both people who have really set a strong example for me entering this business. And then watching the Washington Nationals, I think what's so cool about them is you've got to remember they were the Montreal Expos 2017. They were the Expos 13 years ago, and they were not a highly thought of organization. And now they've got Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg and Anthony Rendon and all these talented baseball players. And they're just a well-run organization. And if anyone's going to beat the Dodgers this year in the National League, assuming that Bryce Harper can get back at some point, knock on wood, they're going to be the team to beat them. So I just think it's really cool following from afar for so many years and now closely following the Nationals and hoping they do well, that they've been able to really turn into a quality top-of-the-line major league franchise with a great park and they have arguably the best 1-2 combo of hitter and pitcher in the league. I mean, Strasburg and Harper are so talented, and they're both so young. It's been cool to see them assert themselves as a player in the major leagues, hopefully for years and years to come.
You call games at Falcon Park. What's your favorite part about the ballpark?
2 things. I love the small-town feel of it. I love the fact that there's a local charity group played by kids. They're all playing instruments. It's called Perform for Purpose. It's really cool. They'll play before the game. I just love how local it feels. Again, I love seeing, these guys who are going to be playing at, the bright lights of Nationals Park and Wrigley Field and Dodger Stadium and all these places you grew up watching on TV. I love seeing them at Falcon Park. I love that small-town atmosphere. And as corny, as weird as it sounds, I love the high wall. I've always loved high walls at baseball stadiums. And Falcon Park is a 16-foot high wall all the way around the field. And I love seeing home runs taken away. I just think it's cool when parks have courts and your fences are not 4 feet tall and it's not 300 feet down the line like it is at Yankee Stadium. I think it's cool when there's a high wall, and I like seeing that different element in a ballpark.
Before we let you go, tell listeners out there how they can follow you on Twitter, and if they're heading out to an Auburn game in the final quarter of the season, what should they expect?
Sure. My Twitter is EV Stockton, EVSTOCKTON. 2 things people often ask me: no, I'm not related to John Stockton, and no, I'm not related to Dick Stockton, but it's spelled like both of their last names. And if you're coming on out to Falcon Park, you can expect to see really high talent. Will Crow's going to be here for a while. Seth Romero should be here for at least 1 more start, if not 2. You're still seeing a lot of talented guys. Kyle Johnston was a high pick out of Texas. I've been impressed with him out of the pen. Mentioned Klobasitz, Cameron Este. You can expect to see all these future Washington Nationals at Falcon Park in Auburn. You can expect to see them compete. And another thing about the team, again, the record maybe 19-32, but these guys play close games every single night, and they compete to the last at-bat. Jared had, while he is a player's coach, he makes sure he instills in them that you're going to fight to every at-bat. So you're going to see a good baseball game, you're going to see talented baseball players, and you're going to be able to say in 2 to 3 years when these guys are slugging home runs or striking people out for the Nationals, I saw them before they were this guy. So.
And Scudder is batting 7th and playing first base for the North team tonight, so we'll keep an eye on the All-Star game in Tri-City.
Fantastic.
Evan, again, thanks for taking the time. Keep up the great work, and best of luck in the second half. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
We'd like to thank Evan Stockton for taking the time to chat with Ricky. You can follow us at District on Deck on Twitter, at District on Deck. Give us a like on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube and get videos after every game at District on Deck, and of course the website itself, districtondeck.com.